In this video, we're going to create a Xamarin application, cross-platform in F#. We're going to mimic the C# template application in Visual Studio. So let's start with the C# application so we have a reference. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Navigate to the C# templates, choose cross-platform, and select the blank XAML app, the Xamarin Forms Portable application. We're going to name the project C# XAML app. And the solution is going to be called XAML app. We're not going to show you any Mac demos or builds in this thing, so we're just going to cancel out of this. We'll use an Android to show the demo. Close that. Also, it's showing Windows. Here, we don't want to deal with any Windows projects in this particular video, so we're going to cancel that. Next, we're going to get rid of the Windows projects. We're not going to do anything with those at this time. Okay, that leaves us with 3 projects: a portable project that's going to be shared between the Droid and iOS projects, and a Droid and iOS project. So we want to mimic this output with all F# projects. So we'll start by creating an F# XAML app portable class library. We'll just add it to the solution. Add new project, go to the F# templates. We want the portable class library, profile 7. We're going to name it F# XAML app. Click OK. OK. In this, we're not going to need the script FX, and we'll leave portable library there, but we're going to rename it later. The next thing we're going to add is the Droid project. So we'll add new project, F#, click on Android, use blank app Android. We're going to name this one F# XAML app.droid. Okay. Finally, we are going to add an iOS project for F#. We're still in the F# templates. Let's choose iOS, blank app iOS. I'm going to say F# XAML app.iOS. Hit OK. Okay, now we have the project templates that we need for this. First thing we're going to look at is the difference in the portable libraries projects. So let's look at the C# one first. Notice there's a few files there. The F# one doesn't have all of those files yet. The next thing we'll investigate is the references. In the C# XAML app, there's a reference to Xamarin Forms Core Platform and XAML. The F# one does not currently have any references to Xamarin Forms. The simplest thing to do is to figure out where these guys live. So let's go to Properties. We'll look at the path. The path is showing us that it's in the Packages directory under Xamarin Forms 2.3.3.180 at this point. That means there's a NuGet package for Xamarin Forms. So the first thing we can do now is go ahead and add that NuGet package to our portable class library. We'll right-click on References, click Manage NuGet Packages. It starts with the installed screen, but that's not what we want. Let's go to Browse. We're going to search for Xamarin.forms. The first one in the list is Xamarin Forms, so we're going to install that into our F# XAML app portable class library. It's just asking you to accept licenses. Click OK. Alright, now our references look a lot more similar. That's what we need to get going. Okay, now let's look at the files that are different in these two projects. The C# has an app.xaml and an app.xaml.cs. A getting started Xamarin, I'll show you what that does, just shows you this screen here. MainPage XAML and a MainPage XAML CS, as well as a packages config. We just got that by adding the Xamarin Forms NuGet package, so that's there. So let's start with the app.xaml. Well, we don't have one of those, so let's add one. Let's go ahead and add new item. This is kind of interesting. So if we go to General here, this is showing the general F# templates. There's no Xamarin over here. There's just Android. Android does not have a XAML file. So in General, we're just actually going to create a text file. You could use XML if you wanted to, but for this purpose, I'm just going to create a text file. And we'll call it app.xaml.fs to match the app.xaml CS in this particular case. I'll go ahead and add that to the project. Okay, so now let's look at the app.xaml. Sorry, that's what I meant to do. We will add an app.xaml file. Let's go to text file. We'll just call it app.xaml, just like the C# one is. Okay, and this stuff is going to be almost exactly the same in both files. So let me open the other one, and we'll do a side-by-side here. Okay, so we can literally just copy this XAML from the C# project and paste it into the F#. The main difference here is going to be the class name. For our F# project, we're going to use F# XAML app.app. We don't yet have an app class in this namespace yet, but that will be our next step. Okay, so in the app.xaml.fs that we created a few seconds ago, we will match that up against the app.xaml CS in the C# project. So let's open that. Okay. Now that we have an app.xaml.fs and an app.xaml.cs, let's try to make the app.xaml.fs look like app.xaml.cs. In F#, the first thing you should probably do is add the namespace. So let's do that first. It's going to be F# XAML app, just like our project name. We need to next open the using that's being actually used, which is Xamarin Forms. We can just copy that and change using to open. Okay, now we've opened that. We need a class of app. So in F#, that's actually a type. Type app. And you notice over here it inherits from application. So let's steal that. Inherit application. Okay. Has a public constructor that does Initialize Component. So if you look at Initialize Component, you might find out what it actually does. You might notice down here it's calling this.load from XAML and passing in type of app. This.load from XAML actually comes from this application that app inherits from. Also, this is in the namespace Xamarin Forms XAML, so we're going to have to open that before we can do anything. So let's go ahead and do that first. Open. Okay. Now we're still in the constructor for app, so if we want to call that load from XAML, we can do that with the do. We say do base.load from XAML, type of app, and now it's complaining because it's expecting the constructor to return nothing, unit in F#. But now it's returning application. That's what load from XAML actually does. To get around anything like this in F#, we just pass it to ignore. So like this. That makes our compiler happy. Okay, the next thing in the constructor that happens, let's go back to that. The next thing in the constructor is MainPage is getting assigned a new MainPage. That doesn't yet exist in our application. We can set these overrides up first though if you want. Let's just put it to do in here. Assign MainPage. We'll come back to that as soon as we have a MainPage. First, we're going to override the onStart method from the C# version. We do that by typing override, and then we actually need an instance alias for this class to override something. So we're going to just use this, which isn't a keyword. You can use whatever you want, but just for readability, I'm going to use this dot on start and parentheses equals parentheses. In this instance, these parentheses just means unit. It means it's going to be void, just like it is over here. We're not doing anything in this method. Okay. Going to do the same thing with onSleep. Again, doesn't return anything, and then onResume. Okay. Looks like everybody's happy at the moment. Let's go deal with the MainPage issue now. If we look back in the C# code above, we have both a MainPage XAML and a MainPage XAML.cs. Let's add the XAML page first. We'll do it right this time. New item. We're going to use a text file. We're just going to call it MainPage.XAML. Go ahead and add that. Okay. Next, we need the MainPage XAML fs file. Let's go ahead and add that. Let's use text again. MainPage.XAML.fs. Okay. App really cares about is the type. So let's deal with the type first, and then we'll come back to the XAML. Okay, so MainPage in F# is blank at the moment. Let's go ahead and grab the C# page. Open that dude. Okay, so let's make these look the same. First thing again is a namespace. Let's just copy that. Let's change it to F. Okay. And we're going to need Xamarin Forms. And you might notice again, we're using Initialize Component in the C# version, so that came from the XAML namespace, Xamarin Forms XAML. Okay, now we need a type. The type is going to be MainPage. It inherits from content page, which is a little different than application. And its constructor just loads the XAML app. So let's do that. Let's say do base.load from XAML, type of MainPage, and then we'll pass that again to ignore so the constructor doesn't return anything. And that looks like that's all we have to do for MainPage. Now we should be able to go back to the app XAML and assign MainPage to this. So let's see if that works. Okay, in order to assign MainPage, we just do base.MainPage, and then we use the assignment operator in F#, which is greater than dash, and then we want to create a new MainPage, and that's it. Our app.xaml.fs is ready to go. Let's just delete that, save the file. Okay, we did forget to put the XAML in the main page XAML, so let's go ahead and do that now. This is the FS version. The CS version is here. Let's just copy that and put it over here. Okay, we got a couple things to change in this. Notice the namespace is needs to be F# XAML app. Also the class's namespace should be F# XAML app. Once that's changed, we'll just save that. And we can close all those files. Okay. If we want to be really cool, we can copy this guy here and paste it over here. So now we have a getting started Xamarin in our F# app as well. And now everything looks pretty much correct. I guess we didn't use this portal library FS, so we can just get rid of it. The final thing we need to do in the portable class library is set the build action of the XAML files to embedded resource. If we don't do that, we're going to have a lot of issues later. So we'll do that for app and then main page. Alright, now we're done with the portable class library. Let's go to the Droid. Okay, for the most part everything looks okay. We don't need getting started because it's in our portable library. Let's go ahead and delete that. There's a main activity. For the most part, it looks very similar. So let's check the references. There are a ton of references there in the C# project and only a few in the F# project. The most obvious thing that we notice from the beginning is Xamarin Forms is in the C# project, so let's add that first and see where it takes us. We're going to go to Manage NuGet Packages, Browse, Xamarin Forms, Install. Okay, I think everything's installed. You might notice that we have pretty much the same references that we have in the C# application, minus any C# specific things. We will need to add a reference to our F# XAML app portable class library. So we'll do that now. Okay. Now that the Droid project has the Xamarin Forms references, we can get started comparing the main activity of the FS with the CS. The first thing we notice is Android Content PM is not being referenced in the F# project, so let's fix that. Okay. The next thing is the attributes on the main activity are not complete in the F# project. So let's copy them from the CS and add them to the FS. One tiny thing to note here, the configuration changes is an enum, and the way you use an enum with multiple options in F# is with the triple pipe. Okay, I think we got all those. So the next thing to do is fix the inheritance. The C# main activity inherits from Forms app compat activity. So we want to do that in F# as well. We're not referencing this namespace yet, so let's go ahead and add that. Open that. Alright, so now that looks like it's good. Next, let's kill this, let mutable count int 1, we don't need that at all. We're going to completely change on create, so let's get rid of most of this. Base on create is valid. Okay, the next thing, we did ignore these resources for now. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Let's just put a to do. Okay, so after on create, there's an init here that happens, and that's in the Xamarin Forms namespace. So let's add Xamarin Forms, and then we'll forms init after on create. Let's get rid of that. Okay, the last thing is load application. That is in the base class. So I can do base.load application. It's going to take in the app, which is the app from the library that we referenced. So again, we're going to have to open that guy. And that is open sharp XAML app. So app should be good. It's just not compiled yet, I think. Okay, app is happy. We've got a few errors. We'll deal with those in a little bit. Okay, so other than that, we should be good with main activity. There are a few things missing. If we look at resources, we have a lot less resources in the F# application. So let's see if it would be possible to copy and paste those. I don't know. Let's try. Nope. Oh, it doesn't like the ones that we already have. So let's use the ones that we don't have. Let's paste those. Okay. Okay, now in the layout, we'll notice there is something different. We don't need the main XAML here. We're not going to use that. The AXML is what it is. I'm going to grab the toolbar and the tab bar, put them in our layout directory. One at a time. Okay, and then our values is going to be different too. We'll get rid of the strings that exist right now. And we'll add the styles. Okay, we already have about resources. The resource designer we will talk about here in just a second. Okay, so everything looks pretty good so far. There is one thing we do definitely need, a couple things we need to fix. In the main activity, again, we have that resources issue here. This is a little bit weird. It took a little time to figure out. So if I compile this guy, the Droid project, it's going to throw an error. It says unexpected keyword end in member definition. So the problem here is the compiler is running some code DOM code to generate a bunch of static resources for us, and one of them is called end. That is a problem. We can't have that because it's a keyword in F#. So there is a way to deal with this that isn't completely obvious, but let's do it. I actually need a NuGet package. So let's go to manage NuGet packages. And it is actually this guy, Xamarin Android F# Resource Provider. Let's install that into the Droid project. Okay, cool. Now, there is one other thing we need to do. We need to actually modify the Droid FS proj file. So the easiest way to do that is we'll unload the project. And then we can edit it. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit weird, but to fix that resource issue, we go to this guy right here where it says Resources, Resource Designer FS, and we want to change that to a CS file. So it's going to generate a C# project, and end is not a keyword in C#. Now that we change this to a CS file, it is going to generate a C# file, which doesn't have the problem with the keyword end. There, let's try to reload this project and see what happens. Okay, this is not a fun error, but it's because it doesn't really tell you what's going on. It says you need to install Xamarin to build these apps. That's not correct. Let's skip that. Let's look at the project file again. Actually, let me show you what's really happening. Let's remove the project and we'll add it back. Actually, add the existing project back to the solution. We get a different error. It's telling you that it's trying to render resources multiple times, and we don't want to do that. It says fix your project file. So let's go fix the project file. I will open it in Notepad++. So the issue is the order in which these folders are being rendered is the order in which they're in here. So assets renders and then resources renders. By the way, since we got rid of this FS file, we don't need this at all, so let's delete that. Okay, so resources about resources renders. So this is the root resources directory. I think that's the only file in there. And then we are in resources drawable. So there's only one file there, but let's put the other drawables after that one. Okay. Let's go to the next set of resources. They are strings we actually don't need. Styles should not be there either. Oh, sorry, that's the values. Layouts. And then values. Okay, the next thing in the list is properties. So let's actually just move those above resources, just for alpha's sake. Okay, then we're back in the root, and we have main activity and fs and packages.config. Let's go ahead and save those changes and see what happens when we try to add the existing project back. Okay, it loaded up. Just for fun, let's do a compilation, make sure everything is okay. So we had two resources that we wanted to set. The tab layout resource and the toolbar resource. Both of those are actually static properties of Forms app compat activity. Start with the toolbar. And we're going to assign that. And we actually don't have where we're going to assign it to yet, so I'll just pop the other one in there real quick. It's also going to be a static property. It's going to be tool tab layout. Okay. Now, another tricky part. That extra NuGet package we had has a type provider in it for resources, but we need to make a class first that is of this type. so that we can use it to set the resources down here. Layout.toolbar, resources, layout. Sources, tab bar. This should be tab bar too, I apologize. Oh, tab layout resource is the tab bar. There we go. Okay, that finishes off our main activity. Now I think we should build the project once again. Super, it succeeded. So let's try to launch it, see what happens. Well, one thing I want to do first, just to make it a little bit different than the CS project, and so you know what's going on here, let's go to the main page and change welcome to Xamarin Forms to welcome to F# Xamarin Forms. And just so there's no tricks up my sleeve. Okay, let's set the droid as startup project and launch it. Look at that, welcome to F# Xamarin Forms. Looks like we got the droid working just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is kind of just an exercise, because we're not going to compile the iOS app, but let's take a look at it anyway. Looks like there's some files that we don't have, mainly the artwork. Let's grab that real quick, paste them into this project. We can see if there's any resources missing, probably a lot. Yep. So let's see if I can grab those at all. It might not work, but we'll try. Instead of wasting your time showing you how to copy resources and add them to the project file, I just added them real fast. So that's what you got to do. Also pay attention to the directories they're in and all that kind of stuff, like you did with the Android project. One other thing, let's get rid of the getting started because it's in the portable class library. Okay. Obvious thing, we need to add the Xamarin NuGet package. That's really all that's missing here, so let's go ahead and do that. Xamarin Forms, install, okay. Cool, so a couple things to look at. There's only 2 files in here that we need to care about. App delegate, there's the C# version. Let's look at the F# version. Alrighty, let's pull it down here. Okay, let's compare these 2 files. First thing is there's this bunch of text here. I'm going to go ahead and copy and put above this app delegate class just for parity's sake. The usings look just fine. Once we go into the app, the name is correct, this is correct. There's one change we have to make here. It actually inherits from Forms Application Delegate, which is in Xamarin Forms Platform iOS, so we need to open that namespace. Okay, now let's get down into here. There's a message for the finished launching method, so let's get rid of this thing. Let's go ahead and put them comments in there just for fun. And get rid of this stuff here. Okay, we noticed in the finish launching method, there's another Forms init which lives in Xamarin Forms. So let's open that. Then we can call Forms init. Okay. And then we can load application, which is in the base class. And then we can do finish launching, derived from the base class. And notice app isn't referenced, so we're going to need to open our portable library, F#XAML app, and then add a reference to it. Okay. And now we can attempt to build, nope, actually we got another file to deal with, so let's save that. Let's go to the main activity. So in C#, that's it there. In F#, it looks like this. Pretty simple. Namespace, got UI kit. This module is main. That's what we want. It's main args. And then we have UI application, main, app delegate. See, all this stuff looks like it's probably fine. So I'm going to leave it alone. I don't think anything needs to change. Just add these comments. I'm going to try building it just for fun, but it's not going to do anything because I don't have a Mac. It says it succeeded, but I don't know what that means. Anyway, I think we're done. Thank you for watching.